I'm currently muted. Hello, I am the AwkwardGM Corbin, and today I will be going over my plan for At the Gates in our New Game Plus roundup thingy. If you were not here last time, which was 2 weeks ago because I was sick last week, uh, I created essentially the what I call a campaign Bible, or what Chris Perkins calls a campaign Bible. I kind of stole this from him because he put a blog post out back in end of fourth edition and said, "This is a campaign Bible I use, and I use it for a lot of my campaigns now for planning." Uh, Now, at the Gates, there are a few things that, if you are unfamiliar, at the Gates is a fantasy role-playing game inspired by games such as Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, a lot of JRPG stuff. And that essentially means that we're talking about a medieval fantasy that is Western influence, but through the lens of Japanese culture, but also a Western interpretation of said Japanese interpretation of a Western culture. You might get cross-eyed thinking of all this stuff, but bear with me. Just to do a quick update. So this is the map that Danielle, the lead developer of At the Gates, posted to the Onyx Path Discord. If you want to check out the Onyx Path Discord, I will be posting Discord in here. I also put up a poll if people want to figure out what the first encounter of the game is. Not a lot of people right now, but there is one choice that is getting up to the top there, and it is always my favorite when players go up against drunkards in a bar. We did an overview last time of the various nations. You have the Capper Knights, which are sort of your warrior, honorable group of people up north in the mountainous regions. They got kind of like a Viking feel, but they often look like goats or mole people. The Federation of Eves, who seceded from a country called Salici. I am still confused about the pronunciation. Maybe I'll ask in the Discord. It's great when I can talk to the developers there and they can be like, "Oh yeah, actually, we wanted it to be pronounced like this," and stuff like that. Then there was in VC. They are essentially a coastal region that is currently in war. If you want to play sort of the rebels going up against or not a rebels, but a guerrilla warfare type scenario, that's kind of a great starting point. We have Ardonia, which is your basic rural fantasy world with a nice kingdom and stuff like that. It does have a government with a president, and I consider Ardonia the default setting or default country initially, just because it was used in the Ashcan. So if you wanted to check out the At the Gates Ashcan for a little introductory session or demo into At the Gates, it's really good. I had a lot of fun running it, and you can actually find me running it on Onyx Path's YouTube channel. I think if you search At the Gates actual play, it might not come up, but it was like just a few weeks ago, so it's pretty much right up there. Drive through RPG, just gonna put At the Gates Ash. Additionally, if you want, there's the Curseborn Ashcan and the World Below Ashcan. So I think if you're interested in the World Below, you can check that out as well. At the Gates Ash. Again, this is second screen content. I will say, if you just want to have me on in the background while you're doing things, it is perfectly fine to do so. I am not that visually stimulating. I am told I might be cute or handsome. I do not see myself as such. Or maybe I do some days. In any case, we have the Liche, which is essentially, it's sort of like a bunch of city-states that are in concert with one another. There is a capital, there are council regents, but there isn't really, as far as I can tell, like a president or a ruler of it. That might not be true. I might have to look back and check my notes, but and the manuscript. But oh, there is a council regent, so the head of the council. They are at open war with a bunch of places, including the Federation of Eves, because Eve separated from them. Then there's Talpidium, which is your mountainous region where you get all the magic tech stuff like airships, and Vitrumaria, which is your desert region that is also one of the like main evil countries. I guess it's not evil per se. It has a totalitarian regime, and there are rebels there who are trying to take down the president who has taken power. I have a lot of the concern, anxiety around that, but that's fine. You can play as the rebels, though, which reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy VII in how that is framed. Additionally, you have the Void, which is the area that borders the material plane, and you have the Outlands, which is where the Void and the material plane sort of come together. This is where demons come from. This is how demons are born. In any case, last we left off, I was going to do the introductory session. So we did a lot of wiggle room stuff with the, not wiggle room. We did a lot of like figuring out what the initial location is, and we chose Talpidium because I love airships, and giving players an airship is always a great thing. Don't at me. So we have a poll still going on. I probably put it a little too... Oh, hello, Ion Eyes. Like the hey guys. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to Salo Lion. I am bad at pronouncing names. I apologize. So starting off with the plot, the first encounter is looks like we've got 100% vote for drunkards at a bar. So I'll just put that down here so that I remember it. But we do need our call to action. So I'm on header 3. I'll do a header call to action. This is sort of my planning out this session. And it might not go this way. Oftentimes, it doesn't go the way I plan. So introductions first. This is where I'd let the players say, this is how the players get to the bar. I might be retreading some old territory in some of my other games. I do often like meeting in a tavern, but I don't like meeting in a tavern in the way that is typical. Is there a typical way to meet someone at a tavern? I mean, there's a typical way to meet someone at a tavern, but to meet people at a tavern. Usually, if I'm at a bar, I'm doing a trivia contest because that's just what I'm like. I really like when they do gaming trivia. I hate it when they do sports trivia because I never can remember any of it. So how the players got to the bar is something that we need to know. If they are out-of-towners from another nation, if they are a local, why are they here? That's pretty much the two spots that we have at the moment. I mean, if someone's a trader or if they're from another nation, that makes sense. Like, they would have probably similar ideas. I'm caring too much about grammar now. The squiggly lines compel me to do things. Oh, Indie Falco 64, thank you for lurking. Oh, and Ion Eyes, you saw this on DriveThruRPG, but didn't know what it was. It sounds really interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting setup here. I really like what Onyx Path is doing with this, because I like they didn't do a fantasy RPG like I'm used to, and a lot of fantasy RPGs are influenced by Tolkien, which means that it often has orcs, dwarves, elves, and sort of like all the background that comes from this, from that, or the fallout that comes from that. Instead, we get characters that are human, but some of them are mutated to look like animals. So you have stuff like goat people who either have just like little horns on the top of their head, or maybe they have like full fur and look like an animalistic version of a human. But it's an interesting setup that we have. So Talpidium, Talipidium, God damn it. I'm sorry. I'm always terrible at this. And I just downloaded the full manuscript too, so I accidentally grabbed it from the wrong area. Oh, there we go. This is the full manuscript, and if I'm right, oh yeah, you are probably not seeing this. You are seeing this. I need to pop it out. Don't want to show you guys everything. It's still work in progress. It hasn't been laid out yet, so it's not going to look. It's just going to look like a bunch of words. But the essentially the way that Talpidium was described to me from reading all this was that it was basically your Magitech world, and they are pretty advanced as far as magic goes, but they don't have a lot of the cultural baggage with like demons. They don't like demons, actually. They say demons and magic are kind of a little bit too, well, it's hard to say because Magitech needs magic, but basically demons are something they don't want to deal with. They don't want to touch. They think it's bad, but technology is perfectly fine. And they are ruled by a queen who is known as, I think, Queen Sapphire. Yes, Queen Sapphire. Queen of the House Sapphire. In any case, just looking through here, the history is one of the oldest standing nations on Everend, with strong natural borders marking out logical boundaries from this protracted isolation. The Talpidimi have made several advancements in magical and scientific lore, and were at their zenith one of the most advanced peoples. Going down all the way here, we have the politics of it, where we mention that House Sapphire's in power, allies. Technicians Guild is easily one of the largest, best organized groups outside of the state's own forces. Within the guild's houses in every major city and even in Cedar Court, they command a great deal of respect. While some see this as a danger, the technicians are largely supportive of the status quo and tend to focus on problem solving rather than looking to shake things up. They are led by First Hammer Agnes Ironslate, who's been elected. So they offer support after a disaster, but always seems to come at a price. Resources aren't free. There's some example story sheets here as well. I'm just going to keep the chat open a little bit. You guys won't tell anyone? Thank you. Don't tell anyone. I like how this is set up here. And this is something, I'm just going to show you this page, everyone, for a second. If I zoom in a little bit close. Secret to know about working with Onyx Path, because I did help out with Travis on a project at one point. Well, not an official project. It was the community project of Bloody Burrows for Training Continuum Assassins. When we were doing our layout, we had to use headers in Microsoft Word because Google Docs does some stuff finicky. Like, it does some formatting stuff weird. But we did use bullet points. But we used the actual bullet character and then tab instead of like actually having bullets in there. I think it had something to do with layout, but it was pretty interesting to be behind the scenes for just a little bit. It was fun. If you ever get a chance to like write something, I totally suggest like putting it up on Story Path Nexus. Sadly, you can't do it for everything. You can only do it for certain projects. Like you can do it for Scion, and you can do it for They Came From and Trinity Continuum, but only certain game lines. Like Anima's not out yet, but you can do Adventure now and Assassins. And Assassins was one of my favorites. Any case, sorry for the plugs. I I I really like. Oh, we've got the culture here. A nation of fishers, sailors, miners, and craftspeople, the Talpitimi are known for being direct, straight-talking, and robust. They do not dress in finery or flaunt exorbitant wealth, preferring to sell luxuries for resources to help improve their methods. Even at royal court, it is not uncommon. It is common to see bejeweled brooches and fine metalworking adorning a noble's garments. Such things are kept tasteful and never over the top. Needless pomposity and ceremony are anathema to the Talpitimi, and they prefer a more common sense approach. This, however, reveals the contradictory nature of their culture and the precedent in which the nation finds itself in the modern world. Despite all the above, they're relatively isolationist and tend not to share their culture with the outside. They are fond with seafood. They've had to be, since it's practically all they had to eat before their agreements with Ordonia could be carved out. So they don't really have. It doesn't seem like they have a agricultural landscape set up. It is possible that they do have access to some breweries for beer or something, or distilleries, but I would think that as far as what they can make, it's likely stuff that is coming from either fungus or seafood. That's because they're in a mountainous region, if I remember correctly. So let's go back here for the introductory. We have the call to action, which is when the players are doing their thing. The bar, we'll give the bar a kind of kooky name. It's stone themed. I mean, there's the brass tankard. That's a dwarven sounding name for something. In any case, brass tankard. It is going to be run by the owner. Is going to be. I usually do male bartenders. I'm not going to do a male bartender this time. Let's do. What are my notes here for Talpitimi? They are mostly. Animal features are moles and crystals. Okay, so Queen Sapphire, I'm assuming is going to have some sapphire, like ingrate embellishments around her face. Maybe she's full on sapphire crystal person, like shard mines from Dungeons and Dragons or something. But I'm gonna go with more human-like for my characters, I think. But the brass tankard, I am not going to make it the owner a what's the word? Crystal person. I'm going to leave crystal people for the nobility, maybe moles and normal humans for the peasantry for the most part. So we'll say that the owner is a Wilma. Let's say Wilma and Mole Teethborn. No. Toothborn. If you know me, I really like the weird, like, compounded names. Like, I like the like Windstrider or Ironborn or things like that of that nature. We're gonna have there be a waiter, or the owner is going to also be the bartender, and we are also going to have the wait staff. Let's just have them be a normal human named William Cross. He will just be a human. And Wilma. Oh, damn it. Wilma and William. I can't do William. It will just be Bart Cross human. And she's going to have a mole features. I guess the mole features is mostly going to be black eyes. And now I have to check to make sure that I was right. If all the species, so Ion Eye says, if all the species are humanoid but share animal features, horn, etc., where were they created this way by higher powers, or did they evolve independently this way? That is a good question. It has something, as far as I know, it has something to do with the Well of Creation. The Well of Creation is essentially this magical mystery thing that we have access to. Well of Creation. Let's see if I can find it. Basically, magic is filling the entire world, and all the Gaians, because the world is called Gaia, are essentially mutated by the magic. So if you are a goat person and you have a child with a crystal person, you're still going to have a human, but they are not necessarily going to have the same features as the parents. It's kind of a crapshoot in that regard, I believe. That's at least how it was explained to me. I'm not sure if that's still the case in the manuscript. I am like looking all around here for that, but I can't really get a good sense of it. The Well of Creation, though, is a physical place that you can go to. It is in the Federation of Eves, which is why it is pretty crazy over there. So creation is somewhat random, yeah. We've got a human, got a waitstaff. Usually I'll give like a short-term goal or short aspiration. Short-term aspiration and a long-term. I like giving these to staff. So short-term aspiration for Bart Cross is to make more tips. Long-term aspiration is get enough money to leave the city. Then we have the owner of Wilma. Her short-term aspiration is to be a successful business. No, that's not a short-term aspiration. Is to short-term aspiration, get access to hops. Hops/beer. Long-term aspiration, probably expand bar to multiple locations. It's a small bar, a brass tankard. Getting access to hops and beers now adds a little bit of character to this place, because now I know that as a quirk, let's put it as a separate thing. As a setting, quirk, fungus beer. So fungus beer, we'll say nasty, looking to get Oridonian beer/spirits. That way we have a goal there for the characters if they wish to do that. Gives them a mission, a goal. It is sort of like a life energy that manifests in different ways. There is a belief of the Well of Creation that it can be used to summon demons better, but I don't think we're at that. I don't know much about the Well of Creation at the moment, since I'm focusing on Talpidium. And I will actually make sure to put that in the setting here. Introduction, Talpidium. Fun times. So we have the bar set up. We have a cast of 2 characters. Their jobs are essentially just give food, alcohol to the players. Now, what we do need are the drunkards. And thank you all for voting. Drunkards are the villains of this situation. They're enemies, but that does not mean that the players need to fight them. I do need to double check who they might be by looking into the background here. Now, there are a lot of people who it could be. It could be people from outside the nation, or it can be people within the nation. There is the politics of the various different groups. You have the Technicians Guild, which I had mentioned before. They're your kind of people who, excuse me, will be doing a lot of, like, setting up the airships and things of that nature. There are also the mages, I believe, because there's something about demon summoning that people don't like about in Talpidium. So let's see here. Daemon. Oh no, it's taking me all the way back to the beginning. Damn it. There is celebrations, important locations, Old Tapidamid, Queen 3. Okay. So the monarch, she resolved to restore Talpidium to greatness by enhancing the works of the Technicians Guild. She hopes to move away from the corrupting influence of Daemon magic. The last living heir. We have Archmage Stonefoot. It is unknown. Resurrecting their ancient attempt to create a stone army. That's okay. That's pretty good. There was something about them having demons in secret, regardless of its appearance. Okay, those are other things. Sapphire Bay, finest weapons, armor, jewelry, tools, and ornamental crafts of all kinds can be sourced at premium price. Okay, that's good to know. We did talk about the culture. We did talk about the Technicians Guild, allies and enemies. It doesn't help that Tristan Beard himself has asked for an official stay of arms from Talpidemy. Tristan Beard is from the Capper Knights, the guys up north. That's a lot of stuff about borders and security. Okay, here it is. The first is the prohibition against Daemon research. The House of Sapphire has tied itself to Zerhad, leading many to support the move. Unfortunately, most senior mages rankle under such restraints and have formed secret societies, or have even gone so far as to join the Stonefoot Magocracy. Okay. The second is Ordonia's magical blight, making the arable crown's fertile land even more vital to the stability of the two nations than ever before. With less to go around, the Ordonia merchants have stopped arriving, and so as have trade shipments. So there are food shortages and even rationing items in some far-flung settlements. Okay, that's good to know. Magocracy is definitely a new is put that on your calendar for today. your word a day calendar. In any case, there are a lot of like various things that we can do for the drunkards. I like having them be part of the Magocracy. If I look for the Magocracy, we have the Stonefoot Magocracy. The monarchy put strict limits on what magic research was allowed in the nation. These were established to prevent anything like the Zerhad from happening again in the future. I'll have to look that up. Oh, it looks like there was an eruption? Okay. They chafed against the new restrictions, and their leading mage Ferdinand Stonefoot created a secret society of mages to continue restricted research in secret. They have long been an open secret in the nation. It spends time rooting them out, and another group springs up elsewhere. The general populace knows little of the group, as the monarchy keeps news and information about them as secret as possible. Trudia Stonefoot is Ferdinand's granddaughter and current leader of the Magocracy. She happens to be the first Palpitome to successfully summon a demon. Their activities are what led to the prohibition. Okay. Public sentiment is also hushed, as people are afraid even being associated with the law-breaking group. Despite this, the symbol of a boot sundering the ground has begun to appear in the past few months. Dabbed on walls and alleyways across the nation, and unease is boiling under the surface of Talpidium, and the Stonefoot Magocracy seems to be at its heart. So these guys, I think, have to be part of the Stonefoot Magocracy. Drunkards, we can always add more drunkards. One of my favorite things to do is throwing drunkards at players. So being mages, they probably have some access to magic, but let's do a quick. Let's give them aspirations as well. The short-term aspiration is going to be have a good time without uninvited guests. A long-term aspiration is probably the downfall, like the Magocracy replacing the government. Now, looking at this, we can then go into our handy dandy sheet here. Go into our chapter for antagonists. Look for. Okay, we have antagonist qualities, principal antagonists, principal encounters of design. We have creatures. We have demons. We don't need demons. I think putting players against demons right up front is not going to be good. However, we can put them up against soldiers and brigands of the people of Everend. So we can take these things here. The template for a soldier or brigand is a grunt/adept. Primary pool 643, enhancement, defense, integrity, injury. So we'll just throw these like small, tiny duders. And what I'll do is I'll actually like copy this a little bit. And then I'll edit it down because I don't need all the information here. So we don't need the adept. We bring down that, bring down that, bring down that. Enhancement 0, defense integrity, bring this down to 1. Don't need to know that it's an adept, don't need to have the initiative there. Magical weapons, soul touch, that sounds like something I could put on them. Arts, hone, soul. Their soul can be 0. You know what? I'll just do that. I think that's it. Higher templates can use officials adding qualities as needed. They don't have anything special about them. If I want, I'll toss in someone who's a little bit more tough. As far as the arts go, I don't really need anything crazy. But that's like my basic character here. I could probably simplify this into a stat block, which I tend to do a lot, where I do something along the lines of creating a table. I'll count across. So I have the name, I have I have three main attributes. I have the enhancement, the defense, the integrity, the armor. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 things that I have to remember. That would be a 3x3 block, but because I need to have them identified, it would actually be a table of, it would be 3x3, it would actually be a 6x3. So 6x3, I would have something along the lines of primary, secondary, desperation, and then I can put down an enhancement, defense, integrity, injury, armor, initiative. So I do that, and then I can just put everything in here and be like 6, 4, and 3. And I can copy this stuff if I really wanted to. I don't really need it though, because I'm gonna like wing it as far as what these guys are good at. So enhancement 1, integrity 1, armor 1, injury 1, initiative 3. And that's pretty much it. Like, I'll even delete this stuff here because I don't need to know the template. And that's a lot more readable. If you're playing a game like this, readability is always key, I find. And I'll merge the cells here so that I can put the name. I'll just put drunkards. If I do need to have these characters be named later on, I might. And then I'll give them like an upgrade in badassdom, to become like enemies to the players, like rivals or something of the sort. And I can even shrink it down. I'll shrink it. As a GM, it is nearly impossible to balance characters, I find, or not balance characters, but keep track of everything for your enemies. If I were to have something like a special ability, I'd probably copy and paste it underneath, just so that I know what I need to know. In any case, we have our drunkards. Quick outline for here. So this is the introductory still. We have the call to action. Some sort of action that happened. I've been learning a lot about writing. I watch videos about writing all the time. I don't want the action to. Oftentimes, I don't want the action to be a happenstance. I want it to be in response to the players. That being said, I am planning this out ahead of time, so let's just have for this quick little outline that Wilma is being pressured by Stone Foot Magocracy to give all the best liquor to the drunkards. So that's some sort of conflict that we can see. If the players don't want to do that, that's fine. We can have a recruitment board for the Technicians Guild. Additionally, we could have it set up as that someone here is a spy for the Queen. Spy for the House of Sapphire. This way we have multiple plot points that we can try and talk to or use to get our players interested into the main plot. The call to action is going to be either the call to action isn't actually either of these three things. These three things are going to basically give someone the idea of whether or not the players are worthy of a quest, maybe, or essentially what you could say is railroad, but I am not going to say railroad because I will probably change this at time of the game if necessary. But my assumption is going to be that the players are going to try and handle the drunkards in a way that is either physical, and as in fighting them, or is going to be social, as in getting them to walk away. With Storypath Ultra and Storypath in general, I do find my players are more likely to err on the side of narrative as opposed to the side of combat. So, in any case, if they try to cause the Stonefoot Mageocracy people to leave without trying to arrest them, I could say that there's probably a good call to action of, you seem like good-hearted people, we need those in this project that we are currently undertaking. What is this project? Or operation, let's say. Now, we did say that we are dealing with the Stonefoot Mageocracy first. They seem to be like a good stepping stone. Pun not intended, for our players to basically get introduced to the world. The operation is essentially to infiltrate the Mageocracy. I was going to say that their mission was probably going to assist one of their allies, but honestly, they would be probably a lot lower tier. Infiltrating the Mageocracy and being spies from within would be a great way of dealing with things, and it also has a it alludes to a fourth option that I forgot, where they actually join in with the Mageocracy. Because if I know my players, and by players, even though I don't have the players set in stone yet for this, I do know players who I usually play with, they would more than likely join the Mageocracy, and they'll say something along the lines of, well, you know what? I always wanted to play someone who is against the status quo of banning magic, or banning demon summoning. But we do have the call to action, which is Operation Infiltrate the Mageocracy. This is the mission for the players who are keen to be good ones. If I turn this into a project into like a Storypath Nexus project, which, if you haven't checked out Storypath Nexus, you can basically get community content for Storypath games. Storypath Ultra, I don't believe, has been unlocked yet, but you have stuff like Adventure, Training Continuum Adventure, Aberrant, Aeon, Core, and They Came From, and Scion. You can, like, once it gets unlocked, it would be nice to put something up like this, just as a, yeah, if your players want to play in this campaign, here's how you do it. In any case, this is still just the introductory. We're not going to detail in here. We do have a potential boss character of Trudia Stonefoot. I want her to be endgame content, though. I want the Infiltrate the Mageocracy to take out someone who is possibly a captain. But we'll talk about... so for the operation, I'll put some notes here. Mageocracy Cell is currently... it is rumored to have a daemon summoning happening within the city walls. That's a pretty basic plot, I think. And this gives us an option of having our players learn about daemon summoning and how to do it. There is stuff about daemon summoning in the system. Is it in the mark? In the magic system? Yes, summon. Daemon summon conclusively altered the ways of life in Everand's many kingdoms. While it's still far from commonplace to see a magician summoning a demon into the world, enough people have heard about it happening, felt the consequences, or fled the backlash of such dangerous actions. Common people view it with distrust and fear, but scholars and military-minded folk find it intriguing. So some characters hunt their demons while others stumble upon them or find fate drawing them into a demon's path. So we have there's a lot of stuff about summoning demons and how you can forge pacts with them to summon them. There are various different types of daemons. If I look in here, there's an entire section where you have the adepts, elites, archons, and sovereigns. I will not have my players be able to summon sovereigns at this stage of the game. Let's say they're just going to get access to adepts. Outside of rips or void corrupted areas, demons can only exist on Gaia when summoned and return to the void when slain or when the summoning ends. When demons use magic, they replicate effects of the spell but draw power from the void and corrupt Gaia while doing it. So they give access to their summoner and their allies to demon magic befitting their nature. Special tricks can be purchased for any action as long as the summoning lasts. Some tricks grant access to antagonists' qualities and arts to the characters. Activating any art costs an extra energy. Okay. I always want, I will probably make custom daemons for my characters, just because I do like the idea of having a variety of them. Though, looking through the list here, we do have a variety of daemons. The first one are the Flagros. Even more than other demons, the Flagros interact with us with eagerness. Our emotions and desires feed them. Conflict helps them grow. They start as living flames with clever eyes and fanged mouths, only to turn into ferocious bonfires and raging stars. Both sociable and easy to summon when compared to stronger demons, Flagros nevertheless hold within their blazing form the potential to be extremely dangerous. They have fire and strong emotions, with a love for battle certainly make them excellent picks for summoner who need help to defeat enemies. Okay, so those are demons who feed on strong emotions. I like it when I have something that's actually sociable. Is there something that's more sociable? We have the Harak. Warriors and entertainers alike, Harak are mighty fiendish demons attuned to hunger and thunder. They value in battle musical abilities in equal measure, and their people see the opportunity to emerge from the void as a perfect chance to test and improve both. What do they look like? They are taller than most people of Everin. Their skin range from bright red, deep blue, vivid green, and other unusual colors. Their large, glowing, pupilless eyes are the only feature of their visage, at least until they talk, and their mouth is riddled with fangs. The Harak's horns are the most distinctive, although though no Harak looks exactly like another, whenever they prepare for battle, little electrical sparks appear around them. Their music, do they have instruments? They must have They must have instruments. They do have the ability to shapeshift into pseudo-human forms as well. I like it. A Harok is probably going to be summoned at some point. Hey, Josie! Thank you for lurking. One of my favorite players, Josie. If I ask you to join this game, I hope that you can separate character knowledge from player. So they're going to summon a Harok. Secret is that they're summoning this. And I'll just put down enter. I wonder if this cell of drunk mages are at all smart enough to be doing this. They probably aren't. They're probably going to be lunch meat when they do this. The cell, I'm going to put a size to the cell. And we'll say it's going to be four drunkards and a head. Now, I'll look for a spell maybe to give to the head drunkard so that, excuse me, he's a bit more, or she, or they, are a bit more powerful. The antagonists have their own arts. They have stuff like Devastating Blow, things of that nature, Drain, Dreadful Gaze, and Tangle. Pull and push are always good ones. There's a Telekinesis, Unsettling, Wave of Destruction. Has to be an elite, though. I think a Drain might be. No, they don't have a lot of health. You know what? I'll give them a Drain. So increase the head drunkard's abilities. So I'm copying my drunkard stat block and putting down the head drunkard. And I'm going to increase the stats just very slightly. I'm going to give a boost of 1 to everything except for their desperation pool. I'm going to up their defense by 1, and I'm going to give them 3 injury instead of 1, just so that they're a little bit more chunky. I'll leave armor the same and the initiative and the integrity the same because I want to give my players something to like I don't want to like make it too difficult for them, and if they do want to go the social route, I'll let them, but it's integrity is the social defense essentially. But I am going to put down that this character does have the drain ability on their attacks. I'll bold it. Antagonist steals life from their foes. It deals 1 damage for each point of complication the characters fail to buy off when resisting this art. Antagonist gains a +1 enhancement on their next action against the character. So, how do I set the... there's got to be something about the complication. In some cases, an art carries its own complication. If this line exists, it replaces the normal complication associated with the template. Antagonists can use an art a number of times, seen equal to the number of times it's listed. Normal complication. These were okay, so these reactions are represented by complications on an action against the antagonist. Antagonist can use a special bite attack in response to being in a melee, but not at range. It may respond to social actions with a terrible glare, but would not do the same against the physical attack. These reactions represented as complications on an action against the target. Okay. So adepts have minor complications, elites are moderate. So I'm going to give it a moderate complication. So steal 1 health. Or is it 1 injury? It's 1 injury. So steal. We're doing it for 1 injury, and then what happens? If it's and then +1 enhancement if not bought off. I remember D told me, or Danielle told me, that At the Gates does seem to have higher numbers, or at least in some way players seem to be a lot more confident than normal in this game. So having a lot of complications is good to throw at the players because it'll put them on their toes. This one isn't too bad. This isn't difficult as far as a level 1 complication or like introductory complication goes. It's a simple reaction, a simple complication, moderate, and it is a reaction on any attack. There we go. So this is basically it healing. This head drunkard can heal itself from other people. I should give them like drunkard type abilities. I'll make a note here. We're almost running out of time anyway, but a note here. Drunkards use drunk magic. I like having complicated. I like having funny characters in this regard. Oh, we need a setting. We don't have a setting for where this summoning is taking place. Let's say it's the base. It's the basement of a noble home. Let's have a twist. We don't need a twist. Or do we need a twist? This is where if I had my players with their character sheets, I could say this character is related to your character, which would be a nice little twist, but we will save that for a future date. At the moment, though, they are trying to summon a Harok / Daemon. And that'll be a good, like, starting adventure thing for them. They meet up at a tavern. They help the bartender deal with these drunkards who are causing a ruckus, who are threatening the establishment or extorting the establishment. That's the word I was looking. And then eventually they'll infiltrate the Mageocracy cell. If they aren't infiltrating it, the Mageocracy people will probably just be like, hey, you guys look cool. Want to join us for a daemon summoning? In any case, that'll be the first thing we deal with. Anyway, that is it, I think. And I need to just double check how things are going in the chat. Going pretty well. We have a lot of stuff going on with crowdfunding right now. Branch Riders is already double its starting goal. So if you want to check that out, I can just type in Kickstarter and it will show up. Additionally, I think its backer kit is going to be having this Scion stuff. If I remember my Monday meeting notes, always always look at your Monday meeting note, kids. It'll teach you a lot. And I post the Monday meeting notes in there. Mythic Shards of Scion is coming Tuesday the 16th, and I am not going to say much about that right now, except that I may be running a actual play in the future, but I can't say much about it. Okay, here's one. We wanted to provide a fresh take on the concept of scions while keeping strong connections to the multicultural origins of the player's heroes. In fact, one of the first versions of Mythic Shards specifically followed a legend or folktale, using it as a template for how scions would interact with the shard. For example, originally, Cyber Scion was going to be a Mayan cyberpunk with mecha, revising the hero twins' journey through Xibalba as a struggle against Megacorps. I really like Cyber Scion. It is essentially a Tokusatsu Super Sentai Power Rangers inspired setting, and I love it. I love it for what it is. In any case, thank you all for sticking around. After this, we are going to next week cover a little bit more of our introductory story, and then we're going to get into chapter 1, which is the plot begins here. The first plot begins here. We will find out why our players are infiltrating the Magocracy, what it is going to do to essentially get them to do other stuff for the Talpidium government. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we'll go to commercial.